For these first few tutorials, I'm going to be taking you through the very basics of Max MSP. I'll be going through the layout in this first tutorial, and then I'll move on to a few of the basic objects as we progress. When you first open Max, you'll be faced with a blank screen. You'll just have the little Max MSP symbol at the top. So to create your patcher window, go to File, click New Patcher, just make that full screen. And then another box that I'm just going to add is the Max window. And this window will give you a hint of any problems that you've got. So they'll come up in the message area there, and you can go and address them in your Max patch. To start making a Max patch, you need to just double click anywhere within the patcher window. This brings up your box of all your different objects and components that you can use to make up your Max patch. I'm just going to go through a few basic ones with you to start with. An object is basically a pre-built function within Max MSP, and I'll be going through some of the different objects and their uses in a later tutorial. A message just gives an instruction to an object. A comment has no connection to the patch whatsoever, it's just there so you can write yourself some instructions. A button, or a bang as it's called, basically means go in Max terms. Toggle is like an on and off switch, and as you'll see in another tutorial, it'll output a 0 and a 1 for on and off. These two are number boxes. This first one is just a straight integer, and this one is a float, which means it's got a decimal in it. The next step is linking everything together. So I'm just going to make a really simple patch to show you how Max objects connect with each other. It's going to start with a print object and send it a message. Let's take a look at these little grey areas on top of both the message and the object. Any Max object or any other thing that you bring into the Max window is going to have these little grey boxes, because they're the inputs and the outputs of each patcher object. And it works in a similar sense to plugging in a guitar. So you plug the output from the guitar to the input of the amp. But in this sense, you plug the output of the message to the input of the object. Now to test that out, if you just go down to this little padlock in the bottom left hand corner, it will lock the patch. If you click on hello, you can now see in your Max window there, it's come up with a little message, and all that's done is sent that hello message through that patcher cable to that print object, which has told Max MSP to bring up the message in the Max window. And that, albeit the very basics, is how Max MSP works, connecting objects to one another through the inputs and outputs. Just a few little tips now. If you hold your mouse and hover over the inputs or the outputs to objects, it usually gives you a little hint as to where you can send it and what it does. And also, if you click on an object and press Command-Shift-H, it brings up a help patch and usually gives you a bit more of an in-depth description of what the object does. As you'll find, there are absolutely hundreds of objects within Max MSP. So what I'm going to do over the course of these tutorials is, I'm not going to show you every single object, but obviously the musical ones will come up in some of the patches we're building. So when I introduce the new object, I'll explain to you a little bit about it, and then I'll let you go off and have a look at the help file and learn a bit more about it.